So, how does Rome actually feel in 2025? In one word, full. Not just crowded, full of energy, of people, of construction dust, of prayers, of moments that feel truly sacred and others that feel completely overwhelming. Fabulous people, welcome to the podcast for all the babes who create their own life trends. My name is Anastasia, and this podcast is all about inspiring you to relentlessly pursue your biggest dreams and live your most authentic, abundant life. So many people have been reaching out to me this year asking if Rome in 2025 still worth visiting, or has the Jubilee Year turned it into a complete chaos? I've spent the last few months seeing Rome from the inside, and in this episode, I'm taking you behind the scenes of what Rome really feels like in 2025. From the Vatican crowds and hotel prices to the energy in the streets. Whether you're traveling soon or just curious, this is what no one else is telling you. Now, for those of you who might not know exactly what is the Jubilee, it's actually Holy Year celebrated every 25 years by the Catholic Church. And 2025 marks the first full-scale Jubilee of the 21st century. It's a moment of pilgrimage, reflection, and spiritual renewal. Pope Francis has called this year the Jubilee of Hope, and Rome has invested billions into metro expansions, church restorations, and redesigned public spaces to prepare. So, how does Rome actually feel in 2025? In one word, full. Not just crowded, full of energy, of people, of construction dust, of prayers, of moments that feel truly sacred and others that feel completely overwhelming. The city is alive with the Jubilee events and freshly restored landmarks. Streets have been polished, churches cleaned, and lights upgraded. There is a visible effort to make Rome shine this year, and in many ways it does. But that energy comes at a cost. The lines at St. Peter's and the Vatican museums, longer than ever. And at major basilicas, it's not unusual to wait hours if you don't book early or choose the right time of the day. Those of you who plan on traveling to Rome this year will find that prices for accommodations are significantly higher, especially for hotels that are centrally located. And what is interesting is that in 2024, at the end of 2024, a lot of Romans actually converted their apartments into Airbnb short rentals. They were thinking that they're going to now strike gold with pilgrims. But what they didn't take into account is that a lot of pilgrims actually prefer to stay at church guest houses, convents, or standard hotels. That, of course, led to an oversupply of Airbnbs on the market. And by mid-year, a lot of them were still standing empty. And that, of course, caused a lot of hosts to slash down the prices. On the other side, people who were looking to rent apartments long-term in Rome not only experienced insane increase in prices, but also a very small pool of accommodations to choose from. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were sharing their frustrations on different forums in Rome, etc., that they've been calling real estate agents asking if they have anything available. And most real estate agents were not even calling them back because there was simply nothing on the market. So it has been very challenging to find any kind of decent accommodation in Rome this year. I'm actually so happy that my lease is due next year, because if it was due this year, this accommodation, considering its location, would have definitely been turned into a short-term rental. And then there is the question of getting around. Rome's metro and buses have always been a bit, let's say, unpredictable. But now, with the construction of Metro Line C happening right in the heart of Piazza Venezia, it's adding even more chaos, traffic jams, delays, and a lot of frustration from both locals and travelers. But that project is not going to be finished by the end of this year. It's actually a 10-year project, at least a 10-year project. So if you're watching or listening to this episode in 2035, congratulations! Probably by now it is finally wrapped up. Now here's the truth about Rome in 2025. It still rewards a prepared traveler, the one who books early, chooses the right neighborhood, and moves with intention, not just an itinerary. Because this year, if you try to win it, Rome will humble you. But if your trip is designed with care, if you move with presence and purpose, this city will give you one of the most unforgettable experiences of your life. So if Rome is on your list this year, here is what you need to know to make your trip nothing short but extraordinary. Number one, make sure to book everything in advance. And I know you're going to say, Anastasia, but how far in advance? Well, when it comes to accommodations, as early as possible. If you want to lock in the best prices, definitely time matters. So make sure to book it as soon as you know that you will be traveling to Rome. Now, the tours to the Vatican museums or the Colosseum should be booked at least 2 to 3 months in advance. Please do not try to book your tours just a few weeks prior to your arrival. I guarantee you will be disappointed, because most likely all the tickets to the Vatican museums will be sold out. And for sure, that I guarantee you, all the tours with amazing local guides will be sold out. It's just how it is, especially this year. So preparation is the key. And also something very, very important, something that I know I repeat a lot on my podcast and in my YouTube videos, but this is something that you all absolutely need to be aware of. Make sure that the tour you're booking is not only located on a reliable platform, but also that the tour itself is a reliable one. Now, here is something very, very important, something that I know I mention a lot on my podcast and in my YouTube videos, but I really want to make sure every single one of you is aware of that. Before pressing that purchase button on your Vatican Museums tour or the Colosseum tour, if you're organizing your trips by yourself, make sure that you're reading tons of reviews. Because what happens, unfortunately, and it happens quite often, especially this year, is that if the tour does not get enough people or something happens, they just cancel on you the last moment. And then you're left on your own, trying to find another tour to the Vatican museums or the Colosseum. Sometimes they also put you with a completely different tour provider or tour operator, and your whole experience is just disappointing, let's put it that way. Now let's talk about dinner reservations and how far in advance you should make dinner reservations in Rome during the busy season. Because a lot of you reach out to me and say, Anastasia, if I make my dinner reservations a week in advance, is that enough time? Or sometimes you reach out and say, if I'm going only to the local restaurants, not a tourist restaurants, only to the local restaurants, can I make my dinner reservations a day or two in advance? And my answer to all of these questions is no. Unfortunately, that is not enough time, because during the busy season, even if you're going to a local restaurant, you should make your dinner reservations at least 3 weeks in advance. Because you have to remember, Rome is one of the most popular cities in the world. And during the busy season, and on top of that, a Jubilee year, even if you try to go to the local hidden gem, most likely a lot of locals will want to go there. A lot of Italians from other places will want to go there. And I'm pretty sure you're not the only foreigner who found out about this place. So a lot of foreigners will still make sure to make their reservations in advance for that local hidden gem. It's just how it is. So in order for you to avoid the disappointment, make sure to make your restaurant reservations in Rome at least 3 weeks in advance. Now, if you're going to ask me, Anastasia, how far in advance can I make dinner reservations? Most restaurants in Rome and in Italy in general allow you to make dinner reservations at least 1 month in advance. If you try to make a dinner reservation a month and a half or 2 months in advance, most of them will either tell you on the phone to call back at least 1 month prior, or if you're booking online, the system simply will not allow you to go further than the months that you can make your dinner reservations for. Number 2. Avoid peak hours and large group tours. Of course, it all depends on your budget, but what I recommend, especially this year, is to focus on private, semi-private, or small group tours. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but why, Anastasia? Why is this important? Okay, so imagine yourself in the Vatican museums, surrounded by thousands and thousands of people. You need to make sure that not only you won't be lost in this sea of tourists, but also that you will be able to hear your guide well. And I know from the feedback that I constantly receive, be it on my comments on YouTube or the emails that fellow travelers send to me, because as you guys know, in addition to the travel YouTube channel, I also run a travel agency that focuses on bespoke trips to Italy. So, of course, I get a lot of feedback from people from around the world. And they share with me that a lot of times when they select large group tours, especially for crowded places like Vatican museums or Colosseum, they cannot hear their guide well because they're lost in the crowds and they cannot keep up with the pace of their guide, or the guide is not speaking loud enough. They have all kind of different experiences, and most of the time it happens with large group tours. So if you want to make sure that the guide is guiding you through this experience at your own pace, and that you can hear your guide well, and you can ask them any questions that you have, then I strongly recommend for you to go for those kind of intimate experiences. And what is even more important here, again, if your budget allows, is to go for tours that are held either early in the day or after hours. For example, for the clients of my travel agency, a lot of times if they want to truly avoid the crowds and have pretty much Vatican museums all to themselves, we organize breakfast at the Vatican tour. It's a beautiful, intimate experience where you can go pretty much without the crowds to the Vatican museums, privately with your guide, have the breakfast at the courtyard if the weather permits, and then at your own pace explore the Vatican museums, Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Basilica with your guide. It is a beautiful, beautiful way to explore Vatican museums, especially this year. These are the kind of experiences I encourage you to focus on or for your travel agency to organize for you. Another thing, I don't know if you guys can hear the dog barking. I can definitely tell I'm back from Greece, fabulous people. It is not as quiet. Rome is alive, and the dogs of Rome are alive as well, and they have lots of energy. And of course, another thing, as I was saying, that I recommend for you to do is to not only focus on, of course, the most popular sites of Rome, but also on the hidden gems. And you guys know I actually have the whole series on my YouTube channel dedicated to hidden gems of Rome. So I will make sure to link that for you in the description down below. But these hidden gems will not only allow you to explore and to see Rome from a different perspective, but also will help you to avoid the crowds and enjoy some of the most spectacular places that most people are not even aware of. And a lot of times we organize these kind of experiences for my clients, and they're always blown away how so few people know that these places actually exist, because during the Jubilee year, you will appreciate these hidden gems like no other year. I promise to you, fabulous. Give them a chance. You will not be disappointed. Of course, it depends on how many days you plan on spending in Rome, because you don't want to be running from one side to another. But if the time allows, definitely incorporate a few hidden gems into your itinerary. Now let's talk about the neighborhoods, which areas of Rome you should stay in and which ones you should definitely avoid. Well, first area that you should absolutely avoid, and I've done so many videos about this area, and yet somehow I see people still booking this area a lot of times, is the Termini. Guys, please make sure that you avoid Termini area at all cost. Yes, I know that the accommodations around that area look nice. Yes, I know that the accommodations around that area are cheaper. But if safety is one of your main priorities, make sure that you stay away from Termini area. It is very, very important, and I just cannot stress this enough. Yes, they do have very nice accommodations. They look very nice from the inside. And yes, prices are very, very reasonable for these kind of accommodations. But there is a reason for it. Unfortunately, Termini area, especially at night, is not the safest. Yes, I know you will be conveniently located close to the Termini station, but if I had to choose between convenience and being close to the Termini station and safety, I would choose safety. So make sure that you're selecting your accommodations in other areas of the city and avoiding Termini, as tempting as it can be. Now let's discuss some of the areas I actually do recommend. And in my next podcast episode, I will go into even more details on different areas of Rome and where I recommend staying and why. But in this podcast episode, I'm going to touch briefly on some of those areas. Number one is Prati. Prati is actually a very elegant, less touristy, more local area. And if you want to stay close to the Vatican museums, to St. Peter's Basilica, this is actually a great, great area for you. Another one is, of course, Monti. And I actually lived in Monti twice since I moved to Rome. The area is very stylish, bohemian, and you will be in close proximity to the Colosseum. And at night, it truly becomes alive. And in some way, it's a great alternative to the Trastevere area. Well, you kind of don't have to choose. You can experience both of them. But Monti does have a very, very lively ambiance at night. Now, another area that is excellent for your stay is Piazza Navona. It is beautiful, it is central, but of course, it is more on the pricier side. Same goes for Pantheon. And finally, my absolute favorite area of the city, the Spanish Steps. Ever since I was 19 years old and I was doing a study abroad in Rome, I dreamt about living in this neighborhood. It just always pulled me in, no matter where I lived in Rome. Monti, Campo de Fiori, Testaccio, because I lived pretty much in every single neighborhood in Rome. Somehow, every day, I found myself back at the Spanish Steps. And I know some locals might not agree with me because they consider areas like Campo de Fiori, Pantheon, Trastevere, Piazza Navona to be more authentic. But for me, Spanish Steps is where it's at. One is because you're in such a close proximity to everything. You're within walkable distance to Piazza del Popolo, Spanish Steps, Trevi Fountains are right around the corner, Colosseum, everything is near, everything is walkable. I also love that in the early mornings and evenings, Spanish Steps is quiet. Almost everyone lives the Spanish Steps, and you can truly enjoy this area without the crowds. It is not noisy and you can get really, really nice sleep here. I also love Spanish Steps because it is very, very safe. I've been living in this area for years, and sometimes I would be coming home late by myself, or I would want to go for a walk at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and not once I felt unsafe. It is a very, very safe area. And probably my favorite part about the Spanish Steps, no, it's not the shops. It is the close proximity to Villa Borghese, which is probably my favorite place in entire Rome. I love, love, love Villa Borghese. I talk about it so often because it is truly one of the most magical parks you'll ever visit. Not only in Italy, not only in Rome, but entire world. This place is truly special, and I always encourage everyone who is staying in Rome and especially around the Spanish Steps area to enjoy this incredible park. You can go in the morning for a run, for a nice meditation, which I do almost every morning. You can have a picnic with your family, or you can have a romantic picnic, grab a nice bottle of Italian wine, some paninis. You can also rent a boat, go on the lake. There is a zoo here. You can also rent bikes and drive through the park because the park is actually very, very big. Or you can visit the Borghese Gallery, which in my opinion, one of the most incredible and stunning galleries in entire Rome. So the options are endless here, guys. Do not skip Villa Borghese. Now, finally, let's discuss how you can use the Jubilee year to your advantage. Number one, even if you're not religious, I strongly recommend for you to download the official Jubilee app. It is available in 6 languages, it is free, and it gives you so much information on Rome during the Jubilee year. You can see exactly when major events are happening, so you can either take part or avoid the crowds entirely. It gives you real-time updates on closures and alerts, helps you register for access to the holy doors, and even shares reflections and cultural events happening across the city. Another way you can use the Jubilee year to your advantage is to attend different spiritual concerts, masses, and art exhibitions that will not be available for the next 25 years. So if you're in Rome during this special year, definitely make sure to attend a few. And again, you can find all those special masses, concerts, art exhibitions, etc. on the Jubilee app. Finally, consider a day trip to Assisi, Castel Gandolfo, or another pilgrimage site. While you can visit Assisi any year, during the Jubilee it holds a deeper meaning. It's officially recognized as the pilgrimage destination by the Vatican, which means the town is hosting special Jubilee masses, exhibitions, and events that only happen during holy years. I visited Assisi twice this year, and both times it was truly magical. And if you've never been to Assisi but curious about this special place, I will make sure to leave you the link to my full guide on Assisi that includes some of the must-see things and places to visit and tons of practical tips that you can use while planning your day trip. Another place that I strongly recommend for you to visit is Castel Gandolfo. Once the Pope's summer residence, it is now fully open to public, including the stunning papal gardens, and is another place I strongly recommend visiting. This year, it's hosting special Jubilee-themed exhibitions and offers a quieter, more reflective experience just 40 minutes outside of Rome. Whether you're seeking a spiritual connection or simply a peaceful escape from the crowds of Rome, Castel Gandolfo is a perfect choice for your day trip from Rome. And of course, I will make sure to leave you the link to the full guide on Castel Gandolfo in the description down below. So, to sum it all up, Rome in 2025 is not for unplanned travelers. It's louder, fuller, more complex than usual, but also more meaningful. And if you know how to move through it with intention, it can be one of the most powerful years to experience the city. And if you're visiting Rome this year and want it to feel as beautiful as it looks, this is exactly the kind of experiences my team creates. From handpicked stays to private access, from transportation to timing, we don't just plan trips, we orchestrate meaningful experiences. This is once in 25 years moment. We would love to help you live it fully. And if you are just as passionate as I am about exploring this beautiful world, don't just listen, join me. Make sure to smack that subscribe button for more Stay Fabulous series, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Let's explore this incredible world together, one unforgettable story at a time. This is Anastasia signing off from Rome. I cannot wait to talk to you in the next episode. Until then, and always, stay fabulous.